Listeners, in the quiet spaces of our lives, amidst the chaos and clamor, there exists a whisper that speaks to the depths of our being, calling us to awaken, to inquire, to seek the truth that lies beyond the surface. Welcome to We Are Listening, a century for those who yearn to explore the pathways of self awareness, self inquiry, natural healing, and awareness. Today, as we embark on this journey of introspection, we are joined by a guiding light, Nakul Agarwal, whose wisdom has illuminated countless souls on their quest for inner peace and understanding. Welcome, Nakul.
Thank you, Pulkit. Thank you for having me here.
Pleasure is all mine, Nakul. And as we always do, why don't we first have your introduction for our listeners so that they understand the experiences you have had, learnings you have had? So, over to you, Nakul.
Well, this might take longer, but I'll try to keep it short.
Sure, sure.
So, I've been a pretty curious child right since childhood, Pulkit, and explored a lot of things, played multiple sports, learned musical instruments, did poetry, singing, dancing, a lot of things. And as I grew up, I had these existential questions in my mind about what is life? How significant is our existence on this planet and in the universe? And what is the purpose of our life? Then, as I moved forward in my life after completing my schooling, I also had to make a choice about what career do I choose. And again, I was at crossroads with this question again that what is worth doing in life? So, because I did not find any meaningful answers outside, I started searching for them inside and I started rigorously inquiring, what is worth doing in life? What is life? Who am I? What is wealth? What is power? What is fame? What is money? And how much of it is enough, right?
Mhm,
What is life? What is death? Is there a God or is there not, right?
mhm,
So, what you call as an existential crisis, I had it pretty early in my life. And while I still made choices of career and I started pursuing chartered accountancy because I had to do something, on the other hand, I was deeply, and vigorously trying to figure out who am I and what is worth doing in life, right? And as I move forward in this journey of self-seeking, self-examining, observing, and realizing, I realized soon that life is certainly not about myself. It's not about getting and hoarding a lot. On the contrary, it's about giving and sharing, right? And this is why at the age of 21, when I was just left with CA final, one group, I started with my not-for-profit organization, my NGO named Renovatio Foundation. And through it, I started doing a lot of projects in the domain of education, healthcare, environment, awareness campaigns,
mhm.
everything I could do because I realized that true fulfillment comes only from sharing and giving. So the journey continued. I used to do my NGO work, I used to do my CA studies, and then I also started some ventures. I had an event management company. I
Wow.
cracked some venture capital deals. I sold a lot of things, including building materials because I thought I would get into construction with my father. We were planning to set up that business. We didn't do it eventually. Railway contractor, for transportation. So I dabbled a few hats to figure out what seemed exciting and interesting to me. I generated some profits and I used all of that for my social ventures. But eventually, almost 6 years after starting my NGO and doing a lot of things with hundreds and thousands of volunteers, one fine day I had a spiritual awakening. A spiritual awakening is a moment of self realization, enlightenment, moksha, nirvana, mukti, whatever you would like to call it. And ever since that happened, my perspective about life and purpose changed completely. Now it was not about becoming a chartered accountant, becoming an entrepreneur, and doing this and doing that. It was about sharing this wisdom, this newfound clarity with people so that they could experience the same inner peace and the same joy that I was just experiencing without any reason, and which I knew it was possible for everyone.
Mhm, mhm.
Organically, people also started coming to me for getting answers to their questions because a lot of people knew me earlier on because of my social work, and now they could see a new me. The facial expression changed, the behavior changed. There was a lot of serenity and a lot of intensity on my face or on my body language, and hence they
Mhm.
were really curious. And hence, the journey started off being a spiritual teacher, wherein people then eventually started calling me for talks, for conducting programs. And now it's been 8 years for my awakening to happen. And yeah, in all this duration, I have given at least 5 to 700 talks,
Wow.
conducted programs for prisoners, for police officers, for commandos, like NSG level Force 1 commandos, for soldiers of Indian Army, entrepreneurs, doctors, college students. I mean, you name it, and I must have done it, right? And yeah, been able to help few people overcome suicidal tendencies, overcome depression, overcome problems of insomnia, anxiety, overthinking. And I continue to do that through my not-for-profit organization, my online programs, and offline initiatives for underprivileged children. So, I mean, yeah, we are going forward and trying our best to create a spirituality, a spiritual process which is very scientific and rational
Mhm,
and not very so-called esoteric and metaphysical where people cannot make any sense of it, right?
mhm, mhm.
So my approach towards spirituality is not at all devotional, not at all ritualistic, not at all about storytelling about some old scriptures,
Yeah,
not at all about some gods and deities. It's all about examining yourself, observing yourself, and of course, realizing yourself.
amazing. And this brings me to help our listeners understand, Nakul, that's an really impressive journey. I know it's really hard trotting the path of being an entrepreneur, and you've even chosen a comparatively more tougher journey as well, where you have gone towards a very different path altogether. So I really want to understand, you just talked about getting self-realization, becoming aware. So what are these terms? Do these actually mean? Because these are very simple words, but do have a very deep meaning.
Well, Pulkit, it's all about realizing that whatever you think about yourself as this personality, this name, this character, this values, these beliefs, these nationalities, these ideas of right, wrong, good, bad, true, false. It's about realizing that all of it is just your own creation.
Mhm.
And what you are is something beyond that. The personality that you think you are is just something you've created, just like this shirt or t-shirt that I'm wearing and you are also wearing. We've created this piece of clothing to cover our bodies, and it's a useful thing to cover our bodies. But this piece of clothing is not us. We are beyond this, right?
Yep.
We have always been there before the clothing even came into existence, right? Similarly, what we think of as ourselves, this ideas of right, wrong, good, bad, having this and not having that, knowing this and not knowing that, having accomplished this and having lost that. All of this is just like this piece of cloth you take on in the journey of living life. But they are not you. What exists as your true identity, as your true self, as your soul, whatever you like to call it, is something which is beyond it and is constantly there despite it. The personality keeps changing like the clothes keep changing, right?
Yes, yes,
Beliefs
yes.
keep changing. But the true you does not change ever. It's always constant.
Mhm.
Yeah. So imagine if I keep holding on to this piece of cloth I'm wearing, what will happen? It'll get dirty. It'll get torn from places. It'll have spots of food when I eat it. And it'll be really messed up. But if I am attached to it, I would feel miserable whenever I look at myself in the mirror because
Mhm.
the cloth looks dirty, right? But if I realize that, hey, it's just a cloth I'm wearing, I can take it out. And the real body is spotless and freckless, right?
Yes.
And it's always been that way in so many ways. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's the same way when you get attached and when you get identified with your personality, that is, I am Pulkit, I am a podcaster, I am an entrepreneur, I am Marwadi, Gujarati, Indian, Pakistani, I am Hindu, Muslim, I am a right wing, leftist, this, that. When you get, attached with these identities, you invite to yourself all the miseries associated with it. But when
Mhm.
you realize that you are not the identity, then everything, every suffering, every problem, every failure, every humiliation, everything which is part of the identity, which has been troubling you, it stops troubling you. And you realize that, hey, to feel at peace, I just do not need to do anything. In order to feel peaceful, in order to feel joyful, you feel you need others' validation. So you want to buy a costlier car, wear branded, spectacles or costly cell phones, speak English. I mean, you do so many things so that you get validation and appreciation from others so that you can feel good about yourself.
Yep.
You can feel you're special, you're this, you're that, and thus feel happy. But when you are able to let go of this cloth of identity, this garb of identity.
Mhm.
Realize that to really be joyful, peaceful, or happy, you do not need anybody's validation. You do
Yeah.
not need appreciation, and nor do their criticism affects you. What you are has always been constant before your birth and would remain so after your death. And you also realize that everybody beneath this garb of their identity, their character, their personality, in essence, everybody is the same thing which you can call as your soul or your true self or your awareness, your consciousness. The different ways people define this, right? But in essence, we are all the same. We've just forgotten and we've just gotten trapped our own selves, enslaved our own selves in this garb of identity. And hence we feel lost in life. Hence we suffer in life. Hence we feel emotionally trapped in life. And hence we are never, ever, truly, completely, and constantly at peace and at a sense of pleasantness in life.
So, Nakul, help me understand one thing. You rightly mentioned about the identities that we keep with ourselves or we wear, or, on our body, or the true personality that we have. But over the age that we live, and specifically, I believe it would be applicable for anybody and everybody who has crossed the age of 25 years and beyond, because after that, a little bit of stubbornness starts to develop within us. And as you rightly mentioned, those tags that we build for ourselves, they become so ingrained in our communication, in our whole body language, that we don't want to let go of them at times because of fear. At times we really love those identities that we are carrying with ourselves. And after, I believe, you cross, and it's often said as well that it's very difficult to change after you have crossed 50 or 60 years of your age. So, but yes, if those identities are not really helping you live, as you rightly said, that if we are having those disturbances in our mind, if we are not letting go of those identities that we have built over the time, they're not letting us live a pleasant life, they're not letting us be at peace. One part is, what could that individual himself or herself do to take the first step towards letting go of these identities? Vis-a-vis, he or she is too stubborn to let go of that. He realizes that these identities are creating problems for me. But yes, at the same time, he or she is not ready to let go of it. And second part, how can people who are in his or her surroundings, can be a catalyst of change for that person?
People in anyone's surrounding cannot be a catalyst for change for a person unless they themselves are undergoing the change. Pulkit.
Mhm, mhm,
And secondly, when you say, how can a person let go of the identity for those who are suffering? Let me tell you, everybody who's trapped in an identity is suffering. They might not realize this, Like if I'm just trapped in this piece of clothing, I might feel, oh, what's wrong with my clothes? I'm comfortable. It is saving me from the weather. True. But you would say, Nakul, you could wear a different cloth, a freshly washed one, a cotton cloth, or a winter cloth. Unless you really let go of it, you do not know how free you would feel. You
mhm,
feel, okay, life is okay because you've compromised being that way. You compromise having anger, having stress, having overthinking, having troubled relationships, having insecurity, having jealousy. You feel it's okay, everybody has it. What's the big deal?
mhm, mhm.
Not born with it. It is a big deal. Everything you want to do is to feel happy, in a sense,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So, the first step for anyone who really wants to be free and really wants to be happy is to identify that, okay, this sense of identity is the real cause of all my problems in life. It is not this person, that thing, that situation, that organization, this climate, this government. They might have certain decisions and behavioral traits themselves. But the reason why I am suffering, I am in misery, is because I am attached with this sense of who I am. So, first step is to realize that, hey, you're stuck. And second step is then to inquire, okay, why do I feel bad about it? Why do I feel good about it? Why do I think this is right? Why do I think this is wrong? So you start questioning and you start really wondering why everything you believe to be right, true, good, beautiful, or important, and vice versa, is the way you believe it to be. Why
Mhm.
is it not the opposite? What makes you be so confident that, okay, in order to succeed in the world, I have to be on LinkedIn all the time. I have to be an extrovert. I have to look confident. Why can't you be vulnerable? Why can't you be humble? Why can't you not be on social media and still be successful?
Yep.
Right? In order to have a great relationship, I need to have the upper hand. I need to earn a lot of money and give my family a lot of money. Well, no. Why can you not have a happy life even though you do not earn as much as you think is necessary? Right? And do you really have a happy life when you have a lot of money? Do people who have a lot of money really have a happy life or beautiful relationships? No, right? So the first step is to realize that this identity is where you are stuck. This is the prison you've trapped yourself in.
Mhm.
And second is to question, how thick is the prison? What created the prison? And how can I be free of the prison? What is there beyond the prison? Right? So when you start asking questions, Pulkit, that is when you start searching and seeking. And once you really start searching and seeking, that is when you really start finding the real answers and thus liberating yourself through this prison of identity. Because just look at it. You might have a point of view. For example, let's take any political leader, and I'll not use any name. You might feel a certain political leader is the best leader ever in the country. He's like, I mean, fantastic. Now, come on, you cannot say that a political leader has not made any mistakes, has not been sometimes probably selfish, or has not lied. You cannot say that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Every political leader with all good intentions and all self commitment might also be at fault. Every political party with all good ideologies and vision might still be missing out on something and might still be doing something which is not helping the country but harming the country,
Yep.
right? But if you identify yourself as a right wing, left wing, this wing, that wing, you just cannot see the negatives of your standing. True. So when you start questioning, you start becoming open to consider opposite perspectives.
Mhm.
And when you start considering the opposite perspectives, really, you start weakening the strength of the current perspectives and thus the current belief system and thus the current identity which you are carrying. Are you getting me? Or do I
Yep.
need to give an example?
If you can help with an example, that would be really great.
Okay. So let's say you get angry a lot. All right. A lot of people get angry a
Mhm.
lot, right? And you, if I ask you, why do you get so angry, Pulkit? You might say, Nakul, what shall I do? This, my team is hopeless. I have a bunch of losers and this and that working with me. They don't understand anything at all. They are this, they are that. Okay. And so I'm entitled to get angry. Up till now, your belief is that you are getting angry because of them. But if you really inquire, you would realize that the cause of your anger is not the people who are working under you. It is your acceptance. It's your inability to accept the work that they have done. They might be doing the best. Probably the problem is not that they are not doing good work. The problem is that they are not skilled enough to do that work, or you have not groomed them enough to do that work, or you don't have the right culture or right person for the right work, right? Because you have not worked on it, perhaps. That is why the person is performing not as expected, right? And
Mhm.
your resistance to his actions will not change anything. It will only make you more angry. It will only make you burst out. And it will only make that person say, Tata, bye bye. I cannot work with you because I have a bad boss.
Mhm.
While you realizing that, okay, this has happened. Can I change it? No. What can I do if I do not accept this quality of work?
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
investigate. Why is this kind of work happening? Right? And after investigation, I can take the right steps. It could be firing the employee, training the employee, giving the right SOP. It could be whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you do not resist what has happened, you can then work towards ensuring it does not happen again. But if you resist, you'll just pile up all this anger, and then this anger will pile up, on your relationships as well. You'll go back home angry. You'll shout at your parents and your wife, and then you'll have a bad relationship with them because
Mhm.
they too will shout back at you. Then you'll spoil your health,
Yep.
right? So the old cause of your anger is your resistance to what has happened. And the reason you are resisting what has happened is because of your notion. that
Mhm.
this cannot happen. This just cannot happen. Or that this is right, that is wrong.
Yep.
Probably what the person has done is absolutely right.
Mhm.
Your idea about it, your perspective about it is wrong. But how do you realize that what you are assuming about it, thinking about it, believing about it is wrong?
Yep.
Unless you question it.
So, Nakul, you rightly mentioned that realization often follows inquiry. And
No. Okay, identification follows inquiry.
okay.
Inquiry follows realization.
So, can you share any anecdote from your own life, which helped you move on this path, which helped you make that change?
A lot of them, Pulkit. I mean, I'll tell you, I used to be an extrovert. I
Okay.
was so restless. My mind was so, I was typical ADHD child, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder child. I could not sit still for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
My mind would always buzz with so many thoughts, and I would want to just throw out them. So I would keep talking without any reason. I've spoken on my cell phone continuously for 15, 16, 17 hours continuously. And this has not happened once, it has happened multiple times. That's the capacity. Were all of these conversations very meaningful, very fruitful, very constructive? Of course not. They might have a bit of useless stuff as well, right? But one fine time, I just noticed that I'm getting very tired. I wondered why am I getting so exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I'm talking a lot,
Yep.
and I have wondered, is talking so much useful? My mind said, yes, why not? I have, because of my ability to talk so much, I have this many relationships, so many friends, such a good network. But will I only have good relationships and friendships and network if I talk so much? The answer was no, of course not. I, in fact, was just burning myself out, right? So I realized, I mean, then I question, that why am I talking so much? And I realized that because I have this incessant need to just say something to engage my mind into something. If I sit still doing nothing, I feel absolutely restless. I feel I would go mad if I sit doing nothing, right? I have to engage my mind somewhere. And if I do not find anything stimulating, then it has to be conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These were the days when the cell phone data was not so cheap,
Yep.
right? So you couldn't even watch television all day long.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And that is when I realized that because I cannot tackle my own thoughts, this is why I have this need to talk so much. What did I do next? I figured out a quote online and I put up that poster. That quote said, wise men talk because they have something to say, and fools because they have to say something. Reading that quote, I was like, I know I am that fool currently. So I printed it out and I pasted it at different places in my room so
Okay.
that it is visible to me whenever I'm in conversation. And the next time, whenever I was in a conversation and my eyes would fall on this quote, I would be like, Nakul, are you talking something sensible because you have something to say? Or are you talking because you have to say something? Right? My mind said most of the times, I'm speaking because I have to say something. This is not really a constructive conversation. And that helped me to stop that call, to cut that call and to stop talking so much. Because that really brought home a realization that it's not important how much you speak, it's important what you speak and why you speak, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
right from being someone who was an absolute extrovert, I have those comments in my school report cards also, Pulkit, huh?
Okay.
This child cannot sit silently. He's always talking. He's too talkative. So, right from someone who just could not sit still for a moment and had to speak to someone who's teaching people now to sit still. You realize it's been like a polar opposite I've
Yeah.
reached from one extreme to another. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, right, from identifying what you're doing to inquiring why you're doing it, to realizing, oh, this is why perhaps I'm doing it, to then working on not doing it next time because you have a tendency to do it,
Yes.
right? So, and once you start working constantly and consistently to eventually overcoming that negative pattern, habit, tendency, or shifting that belief which is causing you to, take that action repetitively.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of these things happen only because I observed what I was doing. And I inquired about it. If it's really good, relevant, helpful, appropriate, right, or is there on the side to it? And of course, after inquiring and realizing, I also worked on it. It's not, like that is the end of it.